In this section, we talk about low scores and fewer number of interviews. You obviously cannot change your scores. They are what they are, but you can still play the match in a very smart way. Likewise, even if you have fewer interviews, let's say 3 or 4, you can actually match. Let's see what our speakers advise you in this case.
Hi everyone, I missed the introduction. My name is Nikita Jain and I'm from Meerut, India. I fortunately matched this year in internal medicine in Chicago. So the thing is that I had very few number of interviews, and that was very difficult because at the time I started out and when I applied, I started with an expectation of about 7 to 8 interviews, but then ending up with 4 was a big surprise. And I mean, there were a lot of times when I used to just kind of think that I'm not going to match. And but so 2 things that you have to keep in mind is that you have to have that balance of, first of all, keeping your composure. You have to have faith in yourself. If you have just 4, it's not impossible to match. So you have to just make the best of those which you have by staying calm and just doing whatever is in your hands, like preparing for the interviews well and trying to be confident. One thing that my colleagues and my mentors told me was that this anxiety of having just 4 interviews has not to, I mean, it should not show up in your interviews. The person across the table should not know that either you are desperate or you're just not so confident that you can make it, because that will lose their interest in you. And the other thing is that you have to be realistic as well. You cannot be, you have to be prepared for the worst case scenarios as well. So what I did was I prepared well for the interviews. I did them. I tried to stay confident. I tried to look very excited in each of the programs I visited. And at the same time, I started preparing for post-match, for SOAP, and even for the off-cycle position. So like Snehal was telling, she really helped me how to apply for observerships. And in February itself, I was on it. I was applying for research positions. I was applying for observerships. I applied to a few programs, and I even contacted all the new ACGME programs which were coming up those days. And so, like, there's this list of ACGME newly accredited programs that you can access, and I contacted all of them, and a few of them agreed that you could apply to our program, and we would be looking for applications during SOAP or maybe post-match as like for off-cycle positions. So that way, I was pretty much prepared. I had a backup plan, and that's what I would suggest you to do. You have to have a strong strong plan of what you are going to do if you don't match. I had everything laid down, like this is the time I'm going to prepare for Step 3, this is the time I'm going to take Step 3, and then this is the time I have to apply for observerships, and this is how I will be preparing for the next cycle. This is the time when I will be writing my application and my personal statements and everything. So you have to maintain this. You have to just be prepared for the worst as well. And one other advice that I would give to you is that for SOAP, a lot of the people, even myself, I was attracted to this increasing number of unfilled positions going into prelim surgery. But that's when my mentors and my my friends suggested that that's really not the right strategy to go for SOAP, because sometimes, anybody would think that, okay, surgery has a lot of unfilled positions, so they would definitely take me, but it's not like that. Your application has to look like it's made for surgery. And that's what Pawan also suggested to me, that my application was completely internal medicine. It did not have any experience which could show that I was interested in surgery. And so it was a waste applying to surgery. And this is the reason why a lot of IMGs don't match in probe, because they don't know this. And so this is something that I want you to be aware about, and just take that into consideration. So that's pretty much.
Thank you, Nikita. So Sahib, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I was in a similar situation as Nikita. I had 4 interviews. 2 of them came in pretty late in Jan. I was pretty depressed, as Pawan can maybe remember. But one thing you need to understand is, like, if you only have 4 interviews, you're going to be pretty nervous during your first couple of them, and you really can't afford getting that. You don't have that luxury of going through the interviews, kind of getting your footing. So you really need to know your answers, and you really need to practice your answers, so that when you go into your first interview, to the interview, it should look like you have had maybe 10 or 15 before that. So you really need to work on your answers and what you're going to do during those interviews. And as Nikita said, you really need to be confident. No one needs to know that you just had 4. You can always come off as someone who's like canceling interviews after Thanksgiving because he had so many. Other than that, I think one thing that needs to be remembered is you have to be pretty consistent. So your CV, your PS, as well as what you say in your interviews should all match up with each other. And that's, I think, a lot of people have a problem with that. They forget what they wrote down in the CV, or they forget what they wrote down in the PS. So take that into consideration as well. The rest of the things I think Nikita covered pretty well. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you. I know you had a topic you wanted to cover.
Yeah, we'll be. Hi guys, everyone. Again, I just wanted to cover some small things. So I matched with a really low score, and that is, I'm just saying this to inspire people, because I saw in the chat a lot of people are so worried about having low scores. Let me be straight up honest with you. I scored 200 and 226. Those were my STEP scores, and I still ended up getting into a university program for internal medicine. What I did different is I came to a state where I don't have to compete with IMGs, because I don't know how many of you have heard about Arkansas, but that's the place I came first when I came to United States, and that's where I have been for 2 years now. And I would say that was a blessing in disguise for me, because it practically helped me in a way that I wasn't competing with many folks. So I chalked up a plan last year when I didn't match, is what I would do different this year compared to last year. And I knew my applications were not going to cross the filter, but hey, everyone tells you to apply for 100 programs. I did that too. But at the end of the day, I had a plan where I chalked out 6 programs which were really close, and the programs I thought I could get into, because those were the programs that were not kind of too IMG friendly, but they wanted someone who's from Arkansas and who has done something in Arkansas. So that was something that worked in my favor. Next thing, I decided I started taking days off work and started driving to all these programs, talk to the program coordinator, and you just go in there. I mean, I know it's rude and you need to make an appointment, but just go in there and say that, hey, I tried calling you, and I know it's a busy season, and I was just passing by, or, I was just down. I was in the city and I'm just stopping by. You can go ahead and talk in that way, and start a conversation and say that I'm really interested in this program. Program coordinator won't be rude to you. There are some program coordinators, but whoever I met were really good. They told me, they wrote down everything, and then they gave this thing to the program director, and I got an interview. In normal case, I wouldn't have got an interview because my application wouldn't have crossed the filters because of my low scores. So this is something for the folks who have really low scores and are wanting to match into internal medicine. Guys, you are the people who decide your own destiny. We are the folks who are just going to help you and tell you stuff. But you guys have to be more confident and chalk out a plan and work on it, because here's the living example of what you can do if you have low scores, okay? So, yeah, just don't give up the hope and keep working hard. All right, Pawan, thank you.
Oh, thank you.